side. Okay, right, let's go. So this is all about how to ace the exam tomorrow and how to ace it and how to ace it. Right, so let's go. You've got 1 hour and 45 minutes. So you might want to write some of these down just to help you to understand it and to remind yourself. Right, so you spend 1 hour doing the reading. Okay, and what I mean, I don't mean spend 1 hour reading. I meant 1 hour doing the reading. And the reading are questions 1 to 4. So done all of this. It's nothing that you haven't done already, right? So that's questions 1 to 4 is the reading. And you spend an hour doing that. And then you spend 45 minutes doing the writing, which is question 5. Now, some people have suggested that you do question 5, the writing, first. So I can understand why. So I've got to turn the heating on. I can understand why you would be told that, because a lot of people don't spend enough time on the writing and a lot of people therefore rush it, and it's worth exactly the same marks as everything else. So all the times we've gone through all these questions, it's all about reading, reading, reading. Well, actually, the writing is just important. But me personally, I suggest that you don't do it first, because when you read your 2 texts in the reading, you can always get lots of good ideas about what to put in the writing. Okay, so just work through it like that. So when you get in the exam, you've got the paper in front of you. What's the first thing you do? Apart from cheat yourself. Pardon? Right, yeah. Write your name. After that, yeah. Questions. Very good. So the 2 texts. All right, you've got to look at the 2 texts. There's 2 non-fiction texts, but before you dive in, looking at the text, read the questions. And also make sure you read question 1, 2, 3, 4, and do look at the writing question. Okay, why would you suggest you look at the writing question before you even read the reading text? Yeah, Tim.
Give you ideas for later on.
Very good, well done, yeah. So, if you read the writing question first and highlight what it's asking you to do, then when you're reading your reading text, you can kind of think, right, I know what I'm going to do in the writing. So I'm going to pick out like certain ideas that they've got, or pick out certain things that they've used, and I can establish and show that. That's what the examiners want. They want to see like that you have read the reading texts, the 2 reading texts, and you can establish some of those sorts of techniques in your own writing. Everyone understand that? So don't not read the writing before you get to the writing, before you get to the reading. So if you remember, you had, so this is one of the ones that we had, and it was on youth violence. Yeah. So when you had youth violence, I'll do it here so the camera can see as well. You had section A, which was on Zach getting stabbed outside the school. Section B, which was on the London gangs long, long time ago. And then you had the questions, and then you also had question number 5. And so see what question number 5 is, because it might be like, write an article in which you argue that police should put more money into crime prevention. And then you can think, oh, what would be good to put into it? Or what sort of things have they got, yeah? I would understand that, yeah? Right, then you come to this, okay? And then what do you do? Oops, these questions here. When you look at question 4, questions 1 to 4, what do you need to have in your hands? Highlighters. Right. So let's go to this one. So highlighters. So I do suggest you get highlighters. And the reason why I use highlighters is, and you can write this sort of stuff down where the class did. Right, so question 2 in this one is write a summary of the differences. Right, I'm going to put that in yellow. So when I go through it, I can highlight in yellow all the differences in what the gangs do. So question 2 is a very simple one. Right, and then question 3, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to highlight, what does question 3 ask me to do? Oh, first of all, look at 2 paragraphs, line 1 to 14. And then I go to this one and I only highlight 1 to 14 in the same colour. because what that does is it makes sure you only answer question 3 on the lines given. Yeah, there's always people that answer it on like the whole text. So question 3 will always give you a certain text to look at. Oh, how does Amuna use language to describe this murder? That's a happy, joyful one. And then lastly, what's question 4 asking me for? Perspectives. So you should have something like that in your questions, yeah? So make sure you've got 3 different colours. Everyone okay about that, yeah? Sure, I said to my other class, if you watch this back, this class, like, you were so quiet. Let me see better. Okay, so this is the things that you need, and you do need to read these, right? Question 2 is all about facts. So write these down, and this needs to be ingrained in your hearts and in your minds. People always do things that are wrong. Right, question number 2. Question number 1, that is that really easy, simple one, which is all about comparing, highlight or tick things that are true. So make sure you do take 5 minutes doing that, because I can tell you now, people will still bodge that up and miss out on an easy mark. Okay, so question number 2 is comparative. It's a comparative question, and you have to just look at facts. So that is looking at facts and inference. Question 3 is the ones that look at ideas and language, which we've done 50 million times before. Question 4 looks at comparatively ideas and language. So question 4 is what of 2 and 3? Yeah, it's an amalgamation of questions 2 and question 3. Very good. Which is why I always say it, do it in order. All right, because by the time you get to question 4, you should have stretched your mind on question 2 and question 3. Anyone got any questions? Questions? No? If anyone writes, like, if anyone in question 2 writes and uses language techniques, I'm going to headbutt them, because you don't need them. It's just a waste of time. Yeah.
So it should just be short.
I'll go through it again. Yeah, properly. That is because you've only got 10 minutes to do that. So timings, easy peasy lemon squeezy. 5, 10, 15, 20. Now we've all got 5 digits. 5, 10, 15, 20. And 10 to 15 minutes reading at the start. Do try and keep to that, because it's really important that you get to question every single year. I've got people and they're like, oh, I don't have time for question 4. And then I get really cross, come out raging. So it's really important that you make sure you do question 1, 2, 3, 4 in order, and you spend 20 minutes. Yeah.
So it applies to the whole thing.
First, yeah. Like we did with I'm going to go through with the nursing one as well, because, and you can go back to it, but look at both of them first of all and just highlight, because you can go back, but once you've got an idea of what you need. So question 2 will ask you about things, and that's just facts. Question 4 will ask you about their ideas and perspectives. So if you've got your 3 highlighters while you're going through, it just makes it easier. Any other questions before we move on?
What's question 1?
That easy peasy one. Question 1 is that one like that. It's about tick or highlight 4 truths. So it's worth 4 marks. It's not a big one. It's not biggie. It's not big smalls. Biggie. Right. Okay. Any more questions? Right. So ding ding. Whoop. Right. Question 2. So in all of these, don't worry about writing down the question. That's just to give you an example. Question 2 is, in all of these, I suggest that you use 3 paragraphs. All right, and you're like, well, how am I going to write 3 paragraphs in 10 minutes? This one's very easy. This one's all about facts. So you don't have to do any language analysis, and you don't have to do any inference in terms of what the writer's thinking. You do have to infer in terms of facts. All right, so you have comparative hypothesis, a quote, and inference. and then you do quote and inference for the B as well. It's all about facts. Right, anyone got any questions? Everyone understand that? It's just, don't spend too long on this question. It's all just about, here is a fact, and then this is what it shows. So for instance, no language techniques, no ideas. Okay. So I'll whiz back to that one. Let me just give you an example. Right, this is the one that we did about nursing. So you've done this already. So the comparative hypothesis. The writers have different experience of nursing. Nightingale is on the front line and is tending to a number of seriously injured soldiers, whilst May is second-hand and anecdotal. Comparative hypothesis, very simple. Nightingale writes in which battle set 1,762 wounded, blah, blah, blah. This shows she has to deal with a huge number and is likely to be busy and stressed. Okay, so it's actually very simple.
That's question 2.
That's one paragraph.
Yeah, that's one paragraph.
And we have to do 3 of them.
Yeah, 3 of them.
In 10 minutes.
Yeah, but it's very simple. It's all about, yeah. But don't just write it simply. Okay, all you're doing is comparing things. On the other hand, May writes, you write your quote, the writer is experiencing nursing based on stories of raw nursing. Here they can infer nursing is stressful. It's a very simple question.
So
Yeah.
it's just inference on facts.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Inference on facts.
Okay, that's fine.
So it's inference on facts. So all you do is you write, source A says this, source B says this. Here's a quote from source A, I can infer. Here's a quote from source B, I can infer. Just do that 3 times. Yeah.
There you spoke about the writers, but the hypothesis all has to do about the writers, so you could say about the nurse.
Well, here's another question. Let me just show you this. This one says the differences between Blackpool and Verona, right? So I'm just going to come out of that a minute. And what this says is the very first thing that this one says, Blackpool. I don't care how many times you hear this, it never stops being amazing, attracts more visitors each year than Greece. There's your quote. All right, so Blackpool, so tell me a fact about Blackpool, because the question says the differences, right? Blackpool has more visitors a year than Greece. So what can you infer about it? It's very popular. Easy peasy. Okay. Whereas if you were talking about his ideas, he then says it never stops being amazing. The idea is that he really loves Blackpool. Okay, so question 2 is only about the facts. Yeah.
You said we have to do a hypothesis at the start of all 3.
Yeah.
3.
What do you mean? Like this?
Comparative hypothesis.
That's going to be hard to do like 3
For each
different
paragraph.
ones.
Yeah.
It's up to you. If you can break it into 3 different things, then do. If you can only do one overarching hypothesis, then do that. But it's a simple question.
Where did the other 2 paragraphs come in?
After this one.
Well, so the one you just showed us is 4 paragraphs.
Yeah.
How come there's 3 of them?
Because to get the marks, good question, to get the marks, if you have a look here for question number 2, it says you need to have perceptive inferences, judicious references. So to get here, you have to show clear references. And to get level 2, you have to show some references. So I always say, if you do 3, you're going to have 6 references, aren't you? 6 quotes. 3 paragraphs, 6 quotes. That'll give you your range. All right?
In 10 minutes.
Yeah. But it's very simple. It's like 3 facts on Blackpool, 3 facts on Verona. That's it.
But it's just that it's not that it's hard, it's just quite a lot to write.
Yeah, I know. Listen, you're not doing the 2-hour, 15-minute exam. English is writing all the time. But what I'm saying is if you can only do 2 and you get to the end of 10 minutes, then stop. And I'll tell you why in a little bit. Okay. So back to here. Yeah. Right. Question number 3. Now this is one that you should all be able to do quite easily because this is the one that is shared on the language paper 1 question. And nothing that I'm telling you now should be new. Okay, it's all things that you are remembering. Right. So in this one, this is talking about Dickens describing the Roman amphitheatre. So there's 3 paragraphs. Each paragraph needs a hypothesis that explores the writer's thoughts and ideas. But this is an easy introduction to exploring the writer's thoughts and ideas. So you have a hypothesis, a quote, inference, and techniques linking to the writer's ideas.
So 5-star base.
A 5-star, yeah. But obviously you're not going to talk about context.
I'm not going to zoom out.
You're not going to zoom out and talk about context or reader. So it's just very much question 2, question 3, question 4. Paper 2 is very much focused on the writer, what the writer thinks, because you can infer a lot. Right, so if I said I really enjoyed teaching 11XA1, you can infer, what can you infer about the class? They're nice, they're good, they work hard. And the more you can say about it, the more you can use your brains to say, well, he says this, but he means this. That's the thing that gets you the marks. And you can all understand, you can all nowadays, hopefully, look at what someone says and then bounce along to what that actually means, what they think. So that was an easy peasy one, yeah? Hypothesis, quote, explore what they think using techniques. Yeah? So an example of this one would be, again, look at the size of the writing. If you'd written that, it would really be like a third of a page, a quarter of a page. The writer thinks the NHS is understaffed during non-working hours. This could put patients at risk. She writes, around 2/3 of respondents, 66% said they worried about the level of care. The statistics, so what I said beforehand, write a fairly long quote and then look at 2 things from that quote. Okay. The statistics, 66% shows that a high majority of nurses think there is a problem. This shows there's a real problem as so many NHS workers are concerned. The triplet of ward, hospital or clinic shows that the worries of these workers are not confined to hospitals. And then you kind of zoom, like you're exploring what that shows about the writer's thoughts. This intensifies May's ideas that the problems is all across NHS, something that will put all sorts of patients at risk, not just those who go in for a hospital stay. This reinforces May's ideas that the NHS is not fit for purpose outside working hours.
That's 1 paragraph.
Yeah.
So if you do 3 paragraphs, there's only 2 texts, so we need to do 1 paragraph, and 1 text, 1 paragraph. And then
Right, good question. In this one, so question 3 is only looking at 1 text. It's only looking at the writer in 1 text. So question 2 and question 4 are comparative. Question 3 is looking at 1 text, and it usually looks at the 19th century text, so the older text. All right. Yeah.
So you avoid, like, literally don't talk about context, but then
if it's important, so for instance, if it's something I don't know about women pre-19th century, you can talk about context in terms of like her ideas would be unusual at this time, because that, you know, if it's important, yes, but you don't know clearly what the context is, so you can just infer. Right, and that's 12 marks. Okay. Right, next one. And someone asked me a very good question about this one. Right, this is 20 minutes. This is all about attitudes and ideas. As I've said, put 3 paragraphs down. However, one of my students in my last class said, because this is quite a meaty, big, chunky paragraph, because you're looking at 2 things, and I said it's better to just do 2 paragraphs and really explore the writer's ideas than it is to do 3 paragraphs and whiz through them. So this is the amalgamation of question number 2, which is comparative, and question number 3, which is looking at ideas. So what you need to do is to look at comparative hypothesis on ideas. So writer A thinks this, but writer B thinks this. Then you go into source A, you use your quote, you use your inference and your language techniques, and you explore the writer's ideas, and then you do your little connective. However, on the other hand,
Should we do like almost a 6-star?
yes, and then yeah, but what you need to do is explore the writer's ideas. The more you say about the writer's ideas, the better the answer is. So yes, you use your quote and yes, you use your techniques and they're really important, but you need to really stay on the writer's ideas.
Are you allowed to use like things you've already written down before to reuse points?
Yes. If they are, so you can use quotes from, if the question's asking you the same thing. So let's just have a look. So this one says, his impressions of the Roman amphitheatre, and then question 4 says, the attitude. So yeah, if you talked about him being positive, use it again, as long as the question is the same. Yeah.
With if you were to do 3 paragraphs, what would the third one be on?
What do you mean?
So you think you source A, source B, and then the third.
No. Each paragraph is comparative. So you've got to think of 3 different things to say. So it might be like So say this one, the attitudes to the place they visit. They both like places because there are lots of people. That could be your first paragraph. Your second paragraph could be the writer of source A is not so keen on the food, whereas the writer of source B is. That's your second paragraph. So you're comparing things. You're comparing different ideas. So this is an example, and this is what I'm saying. This is quite a big, meaty paragraph.
Do you want 2 or 3?
Right. If you can write 3. That's 1. Yeah, because it's comparative. Okay. So let me just explain. Let me just read this through, and then you can take any questions. Okay. In both cases, the writers. So this is about the nursing one. All people that the writer talks to show they enjoy their job. This question was their attitudes towards nursing. The writer's attitudes towards nursing, and they feel they are doing something worthwhile, even if they find it hard. Nightingale, who is in a war hospital, suggests she knows that it is important for her to be there to help the wounded. She writes, "It's good for us to be here." This statement suggests that she thinks she's doing something important, as the adjective good implies positivity and intensifies the fact that she feels she's doing something worthwhile. Nightingale also thinks this for all nurses, as she uses the collective personal pronoun us, suggesting she thinks that the number of nurses is important also. She believes that these nurses are important to the role of helping the wounded in war, even if this is an unusual place to help the sick. However, in source B, May's interviewees believe that although nursing is hard, a nurse can still love their job. She writes, while others stated, although my responses are negative, I love my job. The comparative words of negative and love suggest that nurses understand their job is difficult and complex, and that there is lots wrong with it. However, they also love it. And this intensive feeling suggests they think that nursing is a role you're born to do. Most nurses put up with the bad things because their love outweighs their dissatisfaction with the role. Here, both writers focus on the positives as well as the negatives of caring in a nursing role. So, what is so important here is the fact that you've got a comparison of the ideas. Now, I've told you to try and do 3. I'm not sure that you're going to be able to do 3 in 20 minutes. You might do, but what I'm saying is don't do 3 paragraphs if you just do that. Okay, so after your quote, you should definitely have 2 or 3 sentences after your quote to explain it, yeah? And not just write, this shows she feels like this, and move on. Because this is the thing that gets you the marks. Obviously the quote and the techniques, but this is the thing that gets you the marks. Okay? Everyone all right? Anyone got any questions?
So would you like, if we were running out of time,
Yep.
would you want us to stop and move on?
Very good. If you're running out of time in this one, yeah, but make sure you leave this. Make sure you leave 20 minutes for this, because this is worth the most marks. This is worth 16 marks. But if you've only written 2 paragraphs, definitely move on to the writing, because the writing's worth as much as all of those questions added together. Both of them are worth 40 marks.
What's the writing?
I will go on to that in a minute. Right, I'm going to give you a minute just to stretch, have a little bit of a yawn, have a chat, stand up.
I'm worried about that.
Why? Why
Like,
are you
just
worried?
fitting it in.
It's a time.
That's about like 6 minutes per paragraph.
This is much
Well, you can do that in 10.
To do 3.
So try for 2.
I much prefer literature than literature.
Yeah, I reckon.
Do you? I thought a lot of people like literature because they know so much going in.
Yeah, that's true. But I like sort of just reading
Yeah,
something and
analyse.
then writing about it.
Yeah.
Straight away.
I know this is really gender stereotypical, but a lot of boys find language easier because they just right, whereas girls worry about getting it right, and so they kind of second guess themselves. So what I'm saying, so that's a very good point. Just write, it doesn't matter what you say, as long as you've got an idea, it's your confidence in explaining the ideas that's important. Just waffle, just keep writing.
Just don't overwrite like you did in sociology.
I do what?
In sociology, you overwrote. Overwrote loads.
Yeah, but did you include everything or not?
No, I included a lot, but it was of the, like, there's A1, A2, A3. I put too much A2 and not enough
Oh, yeah.
So,
Anyone got any questions about the reading then?
You can't read that fast.
yeah, this is really.
Is it in the morning?
If you can't read it, if you can't read that fast, it's a very good question. Just read the first half of each paragraph. You should be able to get an idea.
I reckon he can't be off.
Yeah.
Practice, unfortunately. Practice reading, skim reading.
I can read, I can
I reckon
be
he'll
able
give
to
it.
write ideas that I want out.
Planning.
Yeah, I feel like if I rush it, I'll forget what I've already said. And
Plan, just write things down and leave them there. That's why I say when
Can
you
we
first
annotate?
read. Oh my god, yeah, that's why I say scroll over it. Use your highlighters like the whole way through, but try and use different colours, because otherwise you'll get a bit like whack. So one of them will have 2 different colours on it, and one of them will have 3 different colours.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no. No? But you can watch my video again just before. You can have a little like ear thing and it'll be again. Yeah. My kids. Right, okay, let's go on to writing. Right. So, writing is worth just as much as your reading is. So 100% make sure you spend that 45 minutes doing it. Now, obviously, what you will have done is you will have read what the writing question is. Well, I don't like calling it a question. It's not a question, is it? It's a task. I hate when it goes question 5. It's not. It's like task 5. Right. These days, there is no point in this is just an example. This is not the one you're going to get tomorrow. There's no point in travelling to see the world. We can see it all on TV or on the internet. Write an article for a teen magazine in which you explain your point of view in this statement. Right. First of all, the 2 things that you need to be very clear on are flat P is probably more important than A Forest, because you can get really high marks without using A Forest if you write specifically and well for your audience. So 150,000%. The important thing is that you understand who you're writing to and what you're doing. So it's really important to know what your audience or your readers can do for you, if that's important. So can you remember the one that we were talking to about the MP? It's like, write a letter to your MP in which you discuss your or argue the point for nurses to get more money. Yeah. So if you were to do that, when I'm reading this, I'd want to see that you knew what an MP could do. Right, he's a member of Parliament, and what is in his power to change? What can he do? So if this one you're writing for a teen magazine in which you explain your point of view on the statement, make it up. These days, there's no point in travelling to see the world. We can see it all on TV or the internet. My name is Amy Gregory, and I am CEO of Teens Go Travelling. Yeah.
So with an article, you just write paragraphs. It doesn't have to look like an article.
No, don't worry about putting it in lines. But to get more marks, because you know that, what would you start with in this one? What would be the first thing you wrote about? Before a headline. Yeah, the name of the magazine. So teenage magazine. Hot Teen Boy. Or whatever you wanted to call it, just 17. All right, so make up the name of your teen magazine and then your headline and then your strapline. And if you're writing an article, your strapline can be you. Looks like the one that comes underneath it. So
Email address?
it would be more like who you are and why you're writing. Yeah. Hey, I'm Amy Gregory. I'm
That's-
CEO.
That would be the strap line.
That'd be because then it's like if you have a look at this one by Chaka Amuna, it says. So this is about teen violence. If we really want to tackle youth violence on the streets of London, we can start by getting rid of the term gang. Chaka Amuna is the Labour MP for Streatham, a borough of South East London. So they introduce, that's an article, they introduce who the writers are. A letter, you'd be doing it, a speech, you'd be like, all right, mate, I am Chaka Amuna and I'm here to talk about why you shouldn't kill each other on the streets. Okay? Yep. Everyone understand that? Right, how many paragraphs?
5.
Yes! 5 paragraphs. So, in the introduction, and don't write this before you actually plan, because your introduction, the amount of people that like have an introduction and then the actual thing goes way off whack. Plan it first of all. Yeah? Plan. Make sure you know what's going to happen in the 3 paragraphs. So your introduction establishes who you are, what you're doing, and what you want the reader to do in response. I want you to travel the world. Okay. Okay. So your introduction, then you have your 3 kind of main paragraphs, or I say 3 is a minimum. I'm going to talk to you how you might want to break it up. Each paragraph needs a big idea and then you explore them. Now, a good idea is to look at the steer and see if you can split it into 3. Anyone know what that means? What is the steer? Does anyone know what the steer is? Steer is your thinking, babes. These days, there is no point in travelling to see the world. We can see it all on TV or the internet. So if I was going to write this one, my first paragraph would be establishing who I am. And I'd be thinking, right, what they want is they want me to write something for a teen magazine. So maybe I can pretend that I am somebody who is older and who has travelled, and I can see the importance of it. Right, it says these days there's no point in travelling to see the internet, to see the world. We can see it all on TV. Okay, well my first paragraph is going to be talking about these days, and what I can talk about in there is what would be a really good thing to talk about travel nowadays. What could you talk about? Corona. There's no travel. All right, the aviation industry is decimated. There's nowhere you can go. You can't go and then come back. So you can talk about it is during these days. The second paragraph, you could talk about, we can see it all on the TV or internet. So in that one, you can explore what you can see on the television, what you can see on the internet, how good it is, blah, blah, blah. But then the third paragraph would be why you actually think, despite this, we should travel and see the world. That would be a very good article. Especially, as I said before, paragraphs 3, 4, and 5, you broke it up. All right, you broke it up into like more ideas about why we should travel.
Aren't we arguing against it?
No, it doesn't say. It says explain your point of view.
Right.
So you can either say yes or no. So I think if you're going to be really clever, you kind of put your first 2 paragraphs about why it is so hard, and well, we don't need to travel. But then your 3rd, 4th, and 5th paragraph, you could argue actually, despite the problems and despite how difficult it is so important that you travel the world.
3 separate paragraphs.
Yeah, you can do, yeah. What gets you the good question, right? What gets you the marks? Flat P. Purpose. So this would be to explain your points of view. So this would be quite passionate, like you really should do this. It's so important. I think. So flat P. So form. You're writing a letter. Language. Audience. So it's really important that when you're writing flat P, that you're writing about the audience, because you're explaining exactly what your audience can do for you or what you can do for your audience. So if you're writing a speech, it's always a good idea to write hello, good morning, introduce who you are, introduce what you're going to do, and then talk about like how do you make the examiner know that you know it's a speech? What sort of things could you say? Could you write? Yeah, exactly. So you could say something like, let me see a show of hands. How many of you have ever been on a plane? Okay, that sort of communication between the audience and the writer. Yeah. Article, speech, letter, leaflet, which is persuasive.
Leaflets.
No, I wouldn't do it like that. A leaflet, lots of bullet points and things like that, but don't like draw pictures. And
Is it like people getting?
I don't know. Do you know what? 100%, I don't know.
If you're doing a
We
speech,
haven't
I would
done.
do paragraphs. It's like all
Well, I can't remember.
Firstly, secondly, thirdly, because it's a speech that you would read, isn't it?
Did you make some jokes?
Yeah. Yeah, if you can use humour, do. Oh my God. Do you want to see what the
What's the T?
topic? What you're doing?
What's the aim?
Right, hang on. Let me just see if I can find you the. What am I doing now? No, I'm looking for mark scheme.
But I am so glad we're not doing this for the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Woo woo! Right, here we go. Should we have a look at the mark schemes on? Oh. Let's go through that, am I? Right. I'm just gonna stop recording and then I'm gonna start recording another one because I can't.